How big is, I know during COVID, we went through a lot of mental health challenges. Now we're after COVID. How big is mental health as far as the importance of mental health these days? Do you notice, Nicole?
So like whenever like people ask me, like some people would think that mental health is a generational thing. I've been into, I guess, in like some panels and conferences the past few months, and there's a notion that, oh, it's just like the problem of younger people nowadays. But I disagree. For me, like mental health issues and problems have always been there. It's just that we didn't have the same kind of media that we have now. We don't have like the same kind of communication tools as we have now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Career Education Learning Center podcast. I'm your host, Mitchel Rivers. I am thrilled and elated to have Nicole Golloso on our show today. Nicole is a mental health advocate, a mentor, HR professional, keynote speaker, and educator. I know, ladies and gentlemen, she wears a lot of hats, but we're going to get to know this young lady today. Nicole, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your journey to your current career.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you, Mitchell, for that introduction. I'm Nicole. I am based in Singapore currently, but I am originally from the Philippines. I did live in like different cities, like even in the States for a while before. I lived in LA for a while. But like what my current job is, I work for McCann World Group. We are a full service agency, mostly like marketing and advertising stuff. I've been with the company for over 5 years, but currently I'm the Director of Human Resources and Corporate Communications for Singapore and Hong Kong. And I'm also the Regional DEI Lead for APAC. So yeah, I mean, like how I got here, I think like that's a very, very long answer.
Good.
To answer that. I did start my career in HR a little over 10 years ago. But I was never planning to be in HR. The plan was for me to become a lawyer. I took up psychology as a pre-law course, but my parents said that, oh, like before you go into law school, why don't you try working first for a year? And, you know, when you're taking up psychology, the most sensible career path will probably be in HR if you're not going as a clinical psychologist. So I did like start in HR. I was working in the biggest telco in the Philippines for about 4 years, and never got out of it anymore. Never got into law school. I did have like some quarter life crisis after the 4 years. I went into marketing for 2 years before getting back into HR. It was like a whirlwind of a career, but I am where I am now, and I'm very, very happy with where it got me eventually.
Well, I tell you what, Nicole, I wanted to go into marketing when I came out of school, and unfortunately, my school I went to, UNC Pembroke, at that time didn't offer marketing, and so they offered business management. And so that kind of forced me to go into retail management, into banking and finance. And so I think you're fortunate, Nicole, to be able to go to marketing. How was that marketing experience?
No, it was good because like now that I work in the marketing and advertising industry, it actually really helped me also, like I can relate to our people well, but at the same time, because like part of my job is also employer branding, HR communications and all that, like having that knowledge in marketing like helps me make sure that, I'm not the typical HR that, I know like usually like there's this stereotype that HR they're like your principals in school in a way, right? Like I think like there's that notion that HR people are just waiting for you to make a mistake. They're like boring. Like their job is to just pay you, give you a memo, and all that. But I've been on a mission to change that, and I think like my background in sales and marketing somehow, in the middle of my career has helped me get to that stage wherein I'm an HR professional, but I'm also a creative type of an HR professional.
So you like to put a little marketing and sales onto your HR, not the typical HR professionals are going to go like a robot, right? What do you need? What can I help you with? Did you violate any rules? Was there anything violated towards you? That kind of robotic thing. You're trying to put some life into the HR, huh?
That's true. And then, like it helps you like connect with people well too. Like if once you start changing their perception about HR, like now, like the people I serve, they're not scared to talk to HR. Like, like I would get, I would sometimes get calls in like, Nicole, I just like need to cry, or Nicole, I just need someone to talk to. Can you be that for me? And, I think like, again, like that's reaffirming in a sense, because like, yeah, like maybe they're changing how they view HR.
They are. I mean, I never call my HR person for that. I think that's fantastic, Nicole. I think that you put them more at relax and at ease. And if most HR people are like you, I think there'd be more people, feeling comfortable about calling HR about some problems, but also about some good things that's happening in the company. Do you ever hear good things that happen in the company? Is it all bad news?
Yeah, no, like I mean, like definitely not. Like I am like, I think especially when I moved to Singapore, um, I'm very very proud of what I've achieved so far in this space, because like my purpose in life is really to help people, and for me to see how that like purpose of myself and my life is translating also in the work that I do, and people would appreciate that. That is a big deal.
Well, yeah, it is a very big deal. You want to be, as an individual, appreciative of what you do, knowing you're trying your best and doing a good job. And so that's one of the things that, as I tell students all the time, is that, you want to go to a job or have a career in something that you enjoy, that you have passion about. Have you always wanted to go into HR, or when did you realize that maybe in college, hey, I might try HR?
No, like I mentioned, right? Like HR was just like a stopover supposed to be, but like I never left it. But I think like I always say that wherever I'm able to help people, that's where I'm supposed to be. So like in the work that I do in HR, as well as like when I was an educator, I was like teaching in university for over 8 years alongside my full-time job in HR also. And like for me, like that's like fulfilling, when I'm able to contribute one way or another in the growth of other people, when I'm seeing my students, my employees succeed in their own way. I may not be like the sole person who may have impacted their success, but if you've helped one way or another make them see like their career path in life, I mean, I think that's what makes me realize that maybe I'm in the right spot. It's good that I'm in HR. I can make a difference. As also now that I'm in a leadership role, I have more influence and power to make a positive difference in the lives of people.
Yes, and you also taught at the university. So, what is your educational journey? Did you go to a four-year school or college, and get your master's degree, or how's your educational journey, and how has that helped you in HR today?
Yeah, so I went to university in the Philippines, De La Salle University. So our school like follows a trimestral system. So instead of like having a 4-year bachelor's degree, an equivalent for that, like you can actually finish a 4-year course in 3 years. So I did finish my bachelor's degree in psychology in 3 years. I did graduate with honors. Like I was like very active also in extracurricular activities in college. Like I was active in our student government. I was also part of a dance crew.
Oh.
Like like I was like this all around kid. I guess. And after that, I did pursue my master's in industrial organizational psychology because since I already got into HR and it wouldn't make sense for me to go into law school anymore. So might as well like do something related to HR and study something related to HR. Hence, I went to I got IO psychology for my master's. How did the teaching come into play? Right after I graduated university, I was invited to teach in the school where I graduated from. And the course that I was teaching was called like personality effectiveness. I think, like the objective of this course is quite similar to the objective of your podcast. So my students are usually senior students about to graduate college, and the course is focusing on like how do you prepare them for life outside of work. That may involve like how do you edit your resume, for instance? How do you approach job interviews? How do you look for a job? How do you make yourself marketable? And then like also sharing to students our own journeys like as professionals also, because most often than not, like like when you reach a certain point in your career and like people see you, they sometimes think like, oh, you're not human, you're probably like, even for me, like I think I rise like I rose up to the career ladder quite fast at an early age. And people would sometimes feel like, oh, you're probably one of those lucky ones that you're not like as human. And then but they don't know like the backstory of that. I am a mental health advocate for a reason. I did suffer from depression for over 13 years, and most people, and I was high functioning during that whole period, and most people wouldn't see that and wouldn't know that if they don't talk to me. So yeah. So yeah, like when I got into the academe, like that's actually maybe how I also got clarity on my purpose in life. When I started teaching, I didn't realize that teaching is something that I would ever do. um, but it was funny because like when I started like teaching, I went back into my high school at some point. I also taught an elective in my high school, and one of my teachers said, oh, like you remember like when you were in first year high school, like I told you that you'll be back here teaching someday. I never remembered her saying that, but like, okay, right, I did see that coming, but here I am.
You just don't know the twists and turns that go into your life, do you? I mean, you think you want to go one way and you end up going another way. And so, I tell students all the time that, do extracurricular activities that you said you're done in college and high school, do other things. How much does that help you as far as making you more of a whole person, not only just studying, but doing things outside of studying? Mm-hmm. How does that help you as far as becoming the person who you are today?
I think like, you know how they say that not everything you learn in school, you actually get to apply in real life.
Yeah.
I mean, even if I was an honor student most of my life, if I probably joined Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, I will fail at it. I would probably not be able. But I think, like when I look back now, it's not really what you read in books and what you get to memorize while you're in school that will help you once you start working. What will help you the most, especially if you're still a student, is the kind of attitude that that you are using in your schoolwork, like you developing perseverance, you developing resilience, time management, and like for me, like growing up, my mom was my parents were not like strict that, oh, you have to be an honor student all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We're not like that, but my mom was very very strict with our schedules. Ever since, like, I don't know, like for maybe since I was like I started schooling at an early age. I started because I wanted to be in school early. I started schooling at 2 years old because I was the one requesting for it.
Mm-hmm.
And but my mom, like, my both my parents were working, so we would have our nannies, and my mom would set the schedule that, oh, by this time you should be doing your homework, by this time you should be eating, by this time. So we had that strict schedule. And when you were a kid, you kind of hated it because like, my cousins or my playmates are already outside playing, and
Mm-hmm.
here I am studying, or here I am like, still reading books and stuff like that. But as I grew older, like that habit, I
Mm-hmm.
was able to bring with me even now. So like I really, I think I would really give credit to that, that strict parenting in a way that like that was given to me in the work ethic that I have currently. Like I work fast, not and efficiently, because I'm able to distribute my time well, use my time well. I rarely procrastinate, which is, it's different for everybody, I must say. But at least for me, that's how it was. And me being, I think, well rounded, like, because growing up, it was not just academics, right? Like I was
Mm-hmm.
active in singing, I was active in dancing, and you had a lot of these extracurricular activities. I was also doing a lot of volunteering growing up, even up to now. So I mean, that gave, like, I think that made me like a more holistic person. It made me have a wider perspective of the world, and I get to use that. The way you empathize with people, the way you understand people, engage with people now that I am working.
Yeah, I mean, you said a lot of good things there during that segment. I love it because one thing you said that I was accustomed to myself is that my mom and dad was teachers, and my mom
Mm,
was an English teacher. And yes, he had a schedule to where, and that reminded me, you said about your friend, your cousins. My friends were the same way. My mom
yeah,
had me do her own summer school, right? And she had
yeah.
me reading, doing stuff. And I used to tell my mom, I don't want to do that. And I said that one time to her, and she had to use discipline on me. And I never said it again. And so that discipline and those curricular activities, which my parents also had me in a lot of curricular activities, in the Boy Scouts, playing sports, doing
Yeah.
activities and stuff. I think that makes you a more well-rounded person. And some of those lessons that you take from there, you can apply it when you get older. And like you
Yeah.
said before, it makes you more empathetic toward people, have more sympathy toward people. And I think they feel more comfortable with you when they can relate to you. And so
Mm,
I think that you're being a relatable person, which you're
yeah.
showing now, you're a relatable person, that I think it made people feel at ease. And so when I talk to students, I say, like you said before, book smart and being books and studying all the time is fine. It's great. And you need that. But also you
Mm,
need to make yourself whole, let people know who you are. And you're gonna
yeah.
do ups and downs in life, but let people know who you are and just let them come in a little bit and then that open up to you. And that way any problems that they may have, it may be easier to get to and solve, or at least get them help what they need, and that way it solves the problem because they feel comfortable with you. You know,
Mm.
how big is, I know during COVID we went through a lot of mental health challenges. Now we're after COVID. How big is mental health as far as the importance of mental health these days? Do you notice, Nicole?
I think
Even
like
mm-hmm,
so like whenever like people ask me like some people would think that mental health is a generational thing. I've been
mm-hmm,
into I've been I guess in like some panels and conferences the past few months, and you know there's a notion that oh it's just like the problem of younger people nowadays, but I disagree. For me, like mental health issues and problems have always been there. It's just that we didn't have the same kind of media that we have now. We don't have like the same kind of communication tools as we have now. Also, like we have to remember like older generations were wired to somehow suppress their feelings and emotions. Like, you talking about depression, for instance, or anxiety can be a sign of weakness. And, which is why in the past, even if it existed, people may not have been talking about it as much or as regularly as we want. But it's always been there. I think like we're fortunate now that, like more people are talking about it. But also, I think the intensity of mental health issues nowadays are also amplified, which can be concerning. Social media, I feel, plays a lot of that, like how we view ourselves, how we validate our worth, is also impacting that. It is big. For all ages really, and that's why it's like something that we continuously have to raise awareness on and we continuously have to talk about.
So going back to HR, what type of, when the students coming out, what type of candidates are you looking for when talking about hiring or getting a job these days?
I think like I go back to attitude. I feel like hard skills can be taught easily. Hard skills can be learned easily. But attitude, like the character of a person, the values that you stand for, you have to be clear on that. So when I go into interviews, yes, you still have, minimum requirements on like that roles would look for. But ultimately, even if someone would have like a very glowing resume, if they're rude, for instance, if they're disrespectful, if they are entitled, for instance, like those are the like those are some of the things that you would try to avoid. So I think like for the students who are listening, if there's something that you should invest in yourself coming into your interviews, I would always say number one would be self-awareness. um, there's this tool that I share to my students, even to my clients for coaching and mentoring. It's a self-awareness tool. Like it's nothing fancy really, but like I would usually like ask them to, get a piece of paper for like simply put, get a piece of paper, like have like different columns, like have a column for strengths, have a column for weaknesses, have a column for your values, your interests, have a column for your triggers, etc. And like when you're not doing anything, like just sit down and just brainstorm. Don't think too hard. Just like write whatever you can write. Like if I would think about my strength, like just write anything and everything. Like it doesn't matter how long the list would be. And then once you're done with that exercise, you try to read it and you try to identify what are your top 3 to 5 in like every column that you would have. And whatever would be the answer is there, that's what you use, like that's what you focus on. Like say if your top three strengths would say this, then you try to amplify that strength. How can you use that strength and leverage on that strength in whatever job you are applying for? Similarly for your weaknesses, like your top 3 weaknesses, like what can you do to somehow improve on that weakness?
Mhm.
And and then when you go to like interviews, there are very, very common HR interview questions that you would encounter. And if you know this, if you're highly self-aware, it will like the answers that you would have when you go into interviews may come naturally to you. It also allows you to reflect on the kind of person that we are. Not everyone would exercise or practice self reflection as much. We think we know ourselves because we've been living with ourselves our whole lives. But like when I make people do their exercise, and then I ask them, is there anything new that you learned about yourself, or is there anything new that you realized doing this exercise? There's a whole lot of things that they're still able to say, and they would say like, I actually didn't think that I was this and I was that. And when you're self-aware, like when you're talk even when we talk about mental health, for me, maybe that also helped me in my healing journey, like building on my self-awareness. So because I know my triggers, I know like when I need to like step back. I know when I need to, like ask for help, things like that. So yeah, like so try to build up on your self-awareness, and then yeah, like once you have that, you'd know how to answer like HR interview questions more authentically. And yeah, like invest in your character as a person, your work ethics.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic what you said. Um, that's something that we need to do as people. You need to reveal who you are in a sense, write down your character, your weakness, your strengths, and kind of get to know yourself a little bit more. We think we know ourselves, and then when certain triggers come up or certain things come up, then we really don't. I know an
Yeah.
American saying where, it make, as far as pressure make diamonds, right? Or stay a coal in a sense, right?
Mhm.
When you come upon that pressure, whether it's pressure from work or pressure to make decisions, that's the true character. How do you react to that pressure really tells a lot who you are. How adversity and challenges come into your life and how you handle that really truly tells a person or other people how you are deep down. So if you can
Mhm.
respond to a challenge or something negative coming against you in a positive way, that reflects character. But if you reflect in a negative way or blame someone else when it was your fault, then that tells a lot more about your character and reveals a lot to people around you. So I think what you have given us today on this podcast, Nicole, is very valuable. I'm gonna use it myself and hope it helped me improve as a person. But are there any last parting words you want to say to our audience today?
I think like in all my talks and in all my classes, there's this one phrase that I always share. It's not my original, but it's been my mantra. I heard it way back in college, but it's been my mantra ever since. And it goes, every day in every way I will get better and better. I will tell this to myself every day, at least 3 times in a day. When I feel like I'm not good enough, when I feel like the things that I'm doing are not really resulting to the way I want it to go, I tell myself this because it's a great reminder that nothing is really put to waste. Everything that you're doing, we may not see the fruits of our labor immediately. You may not realize why certain things are happening in your life right now. But in time, when you look back, and I've had this firsthand, when you look back, I'm like, oh, that's why it happened to me. The painful things, the failures that we have experienced in life. And when you're young, I swear, like there's a lot more of things that
Yes,
life will
yes,
throw at you that you're not prepared for. Like for me, I thought before that, oh, like whatever failure that would come my way, I can easily overcome it. But when I was at the lowest point of my life, it wasn't as easy as I thought. Even like the strongest person in the world may find it hard to get back up. So I remind myself this every day in every way. I will get better and better. If there's something that you've done today that made you a better person somehow, that made you more human, that made you a kinder and a more empathetic person, if there's something that you have done that helped you improve, or if you learn something new today, that is already progress. And you celebrate the small wins even, and you keep on going. Life will not always be easy, but there's always hope. There's always a way to be better at something.
Well, I think you said that very eloquent and very good. Something as simple as that. That saying every day can really motivate you through those hard times. So thank you so much, Nicole, for coming on our show today. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Mitchell, for this opportunity. I enjoyed this chat, and I hope like it helps your listeners as well.
Well, and not only help my listeners, but also help me. So thank you so much for coming on our show. And I also would like to thank our viewers and listeners for joining me on another episode of the Career Education Learning Center podcast, where we're making your career dreams a reality. God bless.